All right, let's talk about something that can be a real career killer for CRNAs if you're not careful. The non-compete agreement. That dense legal stuff buried deep in your contract. We're going to break it all down, figure out what it really means, and show you how to protect yourself. Let's jump right in.
Okay, first things first, let's get one thing straight. You, as a CRNA, are in huge demand. I mean, you're one of the most sought-after, highest-earning providers out there. And this isn't just me trying to pump you up. This is your #1 weapon when you walk into a negotiation. Your skills are gold, and employers are fighting over you.
And guess what? That competition is exactly why these non-competes exist. While you're looking at the big numbers, the salary, the benefits, the schedule, there's this sneaky language hiding in the fine print. It's all designed to box you in, to limit where you can go next. Sure, they're protecting their investment, but what about your career, your freedom?
Now get ready for this number because it's pretty shocking. 55.3%. A national survey found that's the average score CRNAs got when quizzed on their own non-competes. Think about that. More than half of us don't really get what's in our own contracts, or if we even have one. And that right there is the biggest problem. It's where you lose all your power.
So let's fix that. We're going to close that knowledge gap starting right now. First up, let's talk about the non-compete trop itself and what these restrictive covenants really are. Okay, so you're usually going to run into three main types of these clauses. You've got the big one, the non-compete agreement, or NCA. This is the one that says you literally can't work for a competitor nearby for a certain amount of time. Then there's the non-solicitation clause. That stops you from taking patients or coworkers with you. And finally, the non-disclosure agreement, the NDA, which is all about protecting secrets. Now, NDAs are usually pretty solid, legally speaking, but the other two? Oh, that's where things get interesting. All right, this next part is maybe the most important thing to understand. Let's deconstruct the agreement. Because here's the secret. A non-compete is never a done deal. It's not automatically enforceable. For it to hold up in court, it has to pass a really tough 4-part test. So imagine a judge looking at your contract. They're going to check 4 things, 4 pillars. First, does the employer have a real, legitimate business reason to protect something? Second, is what they're asking for reasonable? Is the time and the geographic area totally over the top? Third, does it put an insane burden on you, an undue hardship? And finally, and this is a big one, does it actually hurt the public? If the agreement fails on even one of these, the whole thing can get tossed out. In that last pillar, harm to the public, that is your secret weapon. Seriously, arguing that it's a personal hardship for you is one thing. But arguing that taking you out of the local market would deny patients access to critical anesthesia care? Whoa, that's a huge deal. Courts get really, really nervous about enforcing anything that could put public health at risk. Okay, let's switch gears and talk strategy. This is a big one. W-2 employee versus 1099 independent contractor. And trust me, this decision goes way beyond how you file your taxes. It completely changes the game when it comes to your non-compete. Just look at the difference here. If you're a W-2 employee, your boss can say, hey, we invested in this person, we trained them, and a court might listen. But if you're a true 1099, that argument just falls apart. You're not their project. You're your own business. They hired a service. That means it's way, way harder for them to legally enforce a non-compete against you. And for any 1099s out there, listen up, because this is the nuclear option. If they hire you as a 1099 but then start treating you like an employee, telling you when to show up, how to do your job, they're misclassifying you. And if you can prove that, boom, the whole contract could be declared invalid. And when the contract goes, the non-compete goes with it. It's a huge piece of leverage if they're not playing by the rules. Okay, enough theory. Let's get practical. Let's talk about your battle plan, how you can get on the offense and defend yourself before there's ever a problem. And it all starts at the negotiation table. If you remember one thing from this whole discussion, make it this. The time to beat a non-compete is before you sign it. Trying to fight one in court later on is just a nightmare. It's expensive, it's draining, and you never know how it'll turn out. The real win happens before you even pick up the pen. So what do you actually ask for? These are what we call carve-outs, specific things you want to change. Number 1, make sure the non-compete becomes totally void if they fire you without cause. I mean, come on, they can't fire you and block you from working. Number 2, narrow that non-solicitation clause down to only the patients you actually treated. 3, get a buyout option in there. And 4, make sure things like teaching or volunteer work are totally excluded. Let's zoom in on that buyout provision because this is a total game changer. What it does is it turns this scary, vague legal threat into a simple math problem. You agree on a price up front. If you want to leave and compete, you just pay the fee. Suddenly, it's not a lawsuit anymore, it's just a predictable business cost. It's your escape hatch.
And finally, you gotta remember that the rules of this game are always changing. The whole legal landscape for non-competes is shifting under our feet. So let's take a quick look at the bigger picture.
And where you live matters a lot. The laws are wildly different from state to state. For example, look at Texas. They're putting really tight limits on these things for healthcare pros, like a 1-year, 5-mile max, and they have to offer a buyout. Then you look at a state like Florida, which is usually more pro-employer, but even their laws say the non-compete has to be reasonable for healthcare practitioners. This is why you absolutely have to know the specific rules for your state.
So let's wrap it up with this question. Your skills are incredibly valuable. They're essential. So is your contract actually reflecting that value, or is it just a tool to restrict it? You have the power here. You have the leverage. So take a good, hard look at that piece of paper, and don't you dare be afraid to push back and negotiate for a deal that truly reflects what you're worth.